evening, folks. This is the Factivist report for Sunday, August 7th, 2022. We're going to get right into it here. The subject is Ron DeSantis, the evil one. And I'm going to turn this over to Dave.
Okay, so we had been talking about how to partition this out. That Ron DeSantis is not the only evil, bad candidate out there, but there are a few reasons why I want to start with him. Number one, he is experienced at writing legislation. He's not experienced at passing legislation. He's put in 52 bills, sponsored 52 bills as a U.S. House rep, and not one of them has passed, including when he was a U.S. House rep under President Trump. So I don't want to hear that he didn't have a majority, blah, blah, blah. So he has knowledge. He also has a supermajority in his state. He has Republicans in both assemblies, houses, or the House and the Senate in his assembly, and his lieutenant governor, his AG, and his Secretary of State, all Republicans. And he still irritates them by his authoritarian nonsense. The other thing is the way in which he does business, which is as a tyrant. He's bullying people, he's threatening people, he's sanctioning people, he's firing elected officials now. He is threatening to fine private businesses for the way that they do business or for expressing their opinions on Twitter. And also his ideology is highly, highly dangerous. So that combination, to me, makes him the clearest and most present danger in our right-wing hellhole right now. So let me see here.
Let's not forget that he's going to run for president no matter what he tells you, okay?
Absolutely. And right now, the straw polls say that if Trump doesn't run and or win, DeSantis is the clear front runner. Ted Cruz will probably always run, but he's running at like 3% right now.
One other comment about where DeSantis was, the straw poll at CPAC, the Conservative Political Action Conference.
Yeah.
I'd like to remind everybody that Viktor Orban, the dictator of Turkey, opened that conference.
Right.
I want you to think about that.
This is not only about, Ron DeSantis always wants to talk about, this is about his state. Leave my state alone. Leave our state alone. Don't tread on me and don't tread on Florida. This isn't just about Florida. What his actions are going to lead to actions in other states, which is going to affect the entire nation. Also, the international community is looking at what Ron DeSantis is doing, just so you know. So let's start with a little brief history, a little brief Wikipedia history on Mr. DeSantis. So he's a lawyer, he's a politician, serving as the 46th governor of Florida since 2019. Now, I will state that Governor DeSantis won by defeating now an unpopular candidate in Andrew Gillum. Andrew Gillum had been under investigation since 2015, and I have an article here to show what's going on with that now. But he won by less than 0.5%. Ron DeSantis won by 30,000 votes. He always talks about how he won like it was a landslide. It wasn't.
By the way, DeSantis had lost by 30,000 votes. He would have refused to concede because he's a Republican.
Right. He graduated from Yale and Harvard, which basically to me just means that he has money. He may be intelligent, but he has a dangerous type of intelligence, just so you know. Joined the United States Navy in 2004, promoted to lieutenant before serving as an advisor to SEAL Team 1, which sounds interesting to me. Like he wasn't really a SEAL member. Wonder how people took that, whatever. And then he was deployed to Iraq in 2007, then appointed by the DOJ to serve as a special assistant U.S. attorney in the Middle District of Florida. And then he held that until an honorable discharge in 2010. Then he ran for the U.S. House seat, the 6th seat in Florida, and defeated his opponent, Heather Bevan. He has always considered himself an ally with Donald Trump, and he is a member of the Freedom Caucus, which is the most conservative group there. We'll go into the Freedom Caucus and who's leading that now. Jim Jordan, I believe, was the original head of the Freedom Caucus, so that's where we're going with that. Mark Meadows is part of it, so there we go.
All the insurrections, basically.
During his 2018 campaign, DeSantis emphasized his support of Trump. Okay, and beat Andrew Gillum by, as I said, 0.4% margin of victory. We'll get into some of the issues with the mask mandates, stay-at-home orders, vaccines. He's against all of that. And some of the legislation. I'm going to be talking more about his tactics and less about the actual laws this time around. I'm going to talk about a little bit, but I'm going to talk more about his bullying tactics, his threats, and all of that kind of thing. So here is from 2013. So he was put in January 2013 through 2018. He was in the Committee on Foreign Affairs, Oversight Committee, and the Committee on the Judiciary. And to me, the Committee on the Judiciary is the scariest one, because to me, it seems like he is overextending his power as governor in the judiciary in Florida. And not just about suspending that state attorney, by the way. But that is a part of it. So, during his tenure, Ron DeSantis, sponsored 52 pieces of legislation. Not one of them passed. And that includes when Donald Trump was in office, and that includes when they had a majority. So take that as you will. Here's a list of everything that he sponsored and co-sponsored. There were some bills that were co-sponsored that were passed. This is just a brief description of the Freedom Caucus. As I said, congressional caucus consisting of the most conservative Republican members of the U.S. State House.
You'll notice the names there: Jim Jordan, Andy Biggs, Scott Perry, Mark Meadows, all of the people that have been under investigation for the insurrection.
Yep. Right now, Scott Perry is the head. So now this is Governor DeSantis's official webpage. And before we went on, I asked Deb to take a look at the website and tell me if it reminded her of anything, because immediately I looked at it and it reminded me of someone else. So take a look at the side. Freedom First Budget, 2022 bill actions. This is where it really got me. Click here to apply to a gubernatorial appointment. And photo gallery, the governor, I thought it was asking people if they wanted to take a picture with him, but no. To me, it reminds me of Steve Bannon a little bit.
Yeah.
It really does. Contact Governor DeSantis. The scary part of this, he's not even talking about the legislation, which is scary enough. Some of the stuff that he's talking about, the Don't Say Gay bill, the Stop Woke Act, and all of this, the fines against people, all of this stuff. This is all about him appointing judges. This is the most important thing to him. And the Adam Warren suspending a Democratic Party state attorney that was elected, by the way, for stating an opinion on laws that haven't even passed yet is a problem. So these are lists of his executive orders. Since the beginning of 2022, there have been 176 listed. The last one was released in August 4th. That was the suspending of Adam Warren. 176. Now, I know that Kathy Hochul has not been in the entire year, I don't believe, but she has put 62 in. To me, 176 seems a little excessive. The other thing that I noticed is that a ton of these are about reassigning court cases to different district county judges. I haven't seen this in any other state. And also extending time limits on things. Post decisions, court decisions, like appeals and all that kind of stuff. It seems like an overextension to me. Just my first take on it, and I'll be looking at it to see if any other state does this. I haven't seen it before, and it makes me pause. All of this, and there. Let's see. There's something else. Ethics executive orders. Now, I looked at a couple of these. It's like people who took bribes and things of that nature, removing people from office. So this is how many were removed in 2021. Could be, could be warranted. I don't know. I haven't looked through all of it. There's a ton of information. This is about Andrew Gillum. Very briefly, he was indicted on federal charges. Okay. He had, this is from June of this year. Last year, he was talking about a comeback. So, he and a close associate were charged with conspiracy and 19 counts of fraud over how they raised and used funds when he was mayor of Tallahassee and a gubernatorial candidate. And also charged with making false statements to the FBI. Now, that's bad. And the Democratic Party also knew that he was under investigation, which I'm just saying that as a learning moment, teaching moment, Democrats, stop doing this. If you see somebody with red flags, put them to the side or try to encourage them not to run. I've seen this a couple of times, and it opens the door for a much worse candidate, like a Ron DeSantis. And as I said, the Republicans have had the majority for over a decade, and Ron DeSantis almost lost. He's not a popular candidate. So now we get into some of this. This talks about Ron DeSantis and how he kind of snowed the African-American community during his gubernatorial race, people who were fed up with Andrew Gillum, frankly. And there was one individual in this story that said that we were taken by Ron DeSantis, and now we know who he really is. Uh, and he is using what is called the Southern strategy. He's also using redistricting, specifically in the 5th district in Florida, to split up a predominantly black district in northern Florida so that it will be more difficult for an African American candidate to win. So there's that. This is what I was talking about in terms of that state attorney, Andrew Warren, who was suspended for not following the law. A law which Andrew Warren has pointed out, there are no cases on the books. The law has not been passed yet. And they're going to vigorously fight this because if they don't fight this, it's not even about just him. It's not about just Warren. What DeSantis can do now in these cases is take out a judge that he doesn't like, give a reason, say, oh, he's funded by Soros, or he's this, and he did say that about Warren, by the way, that he was funded by Soros, and then replace him with somebody that he wants to replace him with, even though they were elected. That is bypassing the election process.
Ron DeSantis doesn't have any respect for voting.
Oh, he doesn't.
He doesn't have any respect for actually anybody. He is literally trying to build an empire, and he's doing it.
Now, I will look closer at the judges that he appointed when I talk specifically about some of the legislation. But he kicked out a Democratic Party state attorney who was is considered a rising star, and replaced him with a Federalist Society judge.
That should speak volumes, really.
So basically, I don't like you, you're out, and I'm going to put in somebody I want.
And basically, so everybody understands this, the Republican Party follows two groups of people. The Federalist Society is one of them. They wield a lot of power in the GOP. Nobody should ever think that this is just an innocent little appointment. The Federalist Society pulls a lot of strings with the GOP, as does the Heritage Foundation. There is an entire, I have it on my desk and I've shown it before in other videos, an entire list of to-dos from the Heritage Foundation that Donald Trump literally accomplished a lot of what they wanted. Some of it hasn't been accomplished. So whoever takes Trump's place, or if it's Trump again, they will be back.
So Deb gave me this article. Now it's from Substack. I understand that, but there is documentation behind it. Okay. And I'm just going to go through the bullet points of some of the things that Ron DeSantis is doing. These are some of the governor's ideas of governance, giving himself more power to remove independently elected state attorneys, like we just saw, and school board members, making it easier to sue newspapers and other publishers for libel and defamation, and harder to obtain public records from the state. So we're talking about FISA, or FOIA, I'm sorry, FOIA requests.
Right.
It's more difficult to obtain FOIA, which, by the way, it's illegal to ask for that information.
Right.
Imposing more barriers to citizen-led campaigns to amend the state constitution, stripping oversight authority from states' independently elected cabinet members, and making it more difficult to legally challenge executive actions by the governor's administration. Now,
seriously,
do we understand where we're going with this?
This is the stuff of dictators, folks.
Yeah. Taking control of organizations that do everything from governing high school sports to building toll roads. This is what a fascist government does. And I understand it's just one state, But if other states see that this is effective, other governors are going to do this. Look at the states that we've been talking about: Arizona, Texas.
I'm
Saying.
serious, folks. I mean, I don't know what it will take for people to see this, but you know, the bottom line is anybody who's looked at what this guy's doing, anybody who's even read Rick Scott's 11-point plan to save America,
Right.
they're planning on taking this fucking national. No matter how you look at this, everybody will be affected in some way.
Now, these are not popular laws. These are openly being called fascist by many, not just, the Daily Cause is not a completely left-wing paper, not to my knowledge. Or would you consider them moderate?
I would consider them more on the left than the centrist, but you can't deny that this is fascism. It doesn't matter who's writing the fucking story. The bottom line is this stuff is the stuff of fascism. All you got to do is look back in history.
So they start with a bill, which to me is dangerous. If it wasn't so dangerous, it would be comical, because it's so hypocritical and so contradictory to what he's doing. Thanks to bills such as HB 233, which went into effect on July 1st, the bill demands that all faculty and students at public universities fill out surveys annually to assess the intellectual freedom and viewpoint diversity at their schools. So if you turn around and say, slavery didn't exist, well, that's an opinion. We're wholeheartedly disagreeing with that opinion. This is where we're going. Anything that has to do with CRT or history or whatever, this is scary. It really is.
And they're trying to, by the way, it does state here that there is a lawsuit trying to stop this.
Yes, and I have an article on that too. HB 233 already has a lawsuit hot on its heels, according to the Washington Post. The Post reports a judge will soon rule on an effort by University of Central Florida Associate Professor Robert Casanello to block the law. And this is from CBS, so talking about it. So in a 23-page ruling, he allowed Robert Casanello, an associate professor, that's the judge, ruling on whether or not he could even sue, or whether it was, okay to pursue this, an associate history professor at the University of Central Florida, to pursue claims against the state university system's board of governors. So he also allowed teachers Donald Falls and Jill Harper and an incoming kindergarten student identified by the initials RMJ to pursue claims against the State Board of Education. So that's ongoing. I'm canceling it because they're talking in my ear again. Here is another bullying tactic that DeSantis is doing. He's suppressing votes by redistricting the Florida election map. And he stated blatantly that if they rejected his map, he would veto any map that was proposed to him. So eventually the appeals court allowed DeSantis to keep his redistricting map, which in part, as I said, would help make it harder for North Florida voters to elect a Black member of Congress in the 5th Congressional District, where nearly half of its residents are Black. So that is an obvious Southern strategy or gerrymandering tactic. that we have talked about in the past. Now, there are several things. What I will say, I will appeal briefly to the libertarians. You're saying that you want you want businesses to act freely and do what they wish, within the law at least. So this is a story from the Tampa Bay Times that mentions Disney. There are several fights that DeSantis has had against Disney. One is about vaccination mandates on their cruise lines. Another is about them speaking against the Don't Say Gay bill, which is their right, by the way. And immediately after that, he threatened to take away their tax exempt status. Yeah, that's extortion, pure and simple. The Disney cruise lines are going to require COVID vaccinations anyway. They'll take the hit and they'll take him to court.
Good.
This is a timeline of DeSantis versus Disney. I'm just putting it out there if you want to see it. It's on YouTube. So this one got dead too. Okay. How DeSantis bullied the Special Olympics into betraying its own ad, threatened to fine them. And I have an LA Times. That's annoying. Go away. I have an LA Times subscription. He threatened to fine them $27 million if they would require people to vaccinate at their events.
It's disgusting. It really is. I mean, these kids are already at risk.
They were at risk.
It's amazing to me that this man does not give one flying fuck about anybody in this country. All he cares about is his own power. He's on a power trip that's just not even to be believed.
Now, the Special Olympics has responded. I have that. I have their website up. You can read that at length. These kids are at risk. When they get the flu, they're at risk. COVID especially. So once again, talk about Florida COVID deaths spiking amid undercounted cases in the BA.5 surge. Now, this was July 29th of this year, very recent.
And he doesn't care because he's not counting anymore. People can just die now. Just go ahead and die.
Right. Now, this is, as I said, hold on. Where am I? There we go. So this is the official Special Olympics website, and they talk about it. These kids are at risk, at physical risk, if they get COVID-19. Respiratory issues, long haul issues, they have pre-existing. Okay. Have a heart, for God's sake. Just saying.
And by the way, let me just say this to the people who don't want to vaccinate but go to the Special Olympics. If that's all you're worried about, you don't care either. You're a shitbag too. Straight up out front.
Now, Ron DeSantis talks about he wants an exchange of free ideas, correct? No, he doesn't.
No, he does not.
DeSantis blocked state money for Tampa Bay's training facility after the team tweets against gun violence. They're not even proposing legislation or pushing for legislation. They're just saying gun violence is bad. And DeSantis was like, well, we don't want to mix politics and sports.
Stuff it. Fat boy.
So all of this, he's raising a lot of money from right-wing
Shit,
organizations
sorry.
from all of that. And there's a CPAC straw poll out there. He is the front runner if Trump doesn't win. If Trump doesn't run.
Trump
Okay.
did win the CPAC straw poll, though.
He did win the CPAC straw poll, and I would not be surprised if Trump actually got the nomination, if Trump would nominate DeSantis as his VP. DeSantis is in his 40s. He doesn't care.
All the arguments between them are all for show. Okay.
Yeah.
It really is just, it really is just that simple. You know, would Ron DeSantis like to be the nominee? Of course he would, but he's 43 fucking years old. Yep. He's got a long road of fascist politics ahead of him. He'll take the VP nod. It will give him a boost into the election, if there is one, the next time around.
Right.
I actually am going to state this right now. If the Republicans win in 2024, it could be the last real election you see. I really do feel that strongly about what's going on here.
Let us just go into nightmare land for 2 seconds. Let's say that Donald Trump does get reelected and Ron DeSantis is his vice president. Do you think Ron DeSantis would have any issue with doing what Trump asked Mike Pence to do? Hell no. He would do it in a heartbeat. Which is why the rush to get things amended and to get things changed, so the vice president doesn't have that kind of power anymore.
It's true.
There are reasons why Liz Cheney and the January 6th Commission are doing what they're doing. They're trying to enact positive change to prevent that kind of crap from happening. Now, in the meantime, Ron DeSantis is running his mouth at the GOP summit, calling Joe Biden Brandon, all that crap, you know, saying that he hopes that Biden recovers from COVID, and he hopes we recover from Biden, blah, 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 blah. Yay, you know, boo Fauci, boo, blah, blah. So he's running. He's running. Just like that if Joe Biden doesn't run, Gavin Newsom is positioning himself to run. You know that. By the way, Joe Biden, despite what you think about him and despite his poll numbers and all that crap, he will defeat Ron DeSantis. You know, God help us if he didn't.
Ron DeSantis, I mean, Joe Biden has gotten a really bad rap here. You know, we thought that President Obama inherited a fucking mess from George W. Bush. It wasn't anything like what Joe Biden inherited from Donald Trump. I'm sorry, folks, but right now, when you're looking at legislation getting passed, there is no way to pass anything reasonable through this GOP. You know, essentially, Donald Trump left behind in office 147 seditionists who voted to overturn a legitimate election. They have not cooperated with Joe Biden on any level, on anything from day one. And everything has been a battle and everything has been a struggle. And now he's having to deal with the whole overturn of Roe v. Wade. It's one thing cascading after another. And people need to understand this. The Republicans do not legislate and they do not govern. Their sole responsibility is to create a fascist state and to obstruct everything that is being done by anybody on the other side of the coin.
And by the way, let me just say this. It looks like Charlie Crist is going to win the Florida primary for governor. And he has been governor before. And he's basically saying, look, I know how to deal with a Republican legislature. And I, of all people, I will know what to do in this case. And you guys basically need me, and I need to do this. I feel it's my duty to do this. Let me do this. I agree with that. But if he gets elected, understand the shitstorm that he is going to face. He is facing a Republican majority in both sections of that legislature. And everyone else is Republican. and they have had a Republican majority and no one in a Democratic position from the Democratic Party in over a decade. So, or actually, it looked like since like the 90s. So he's going to have a tough road to go. So for you to say, oh, well, Chris got in, what's he done?
You're going to have to give people a little time,
You have to.
And by the way, you're going to have to vote out some of these fucking shitbags.
Right.
You're going to have to change listen to me. Florida used to be considered a swing state. It is no longer a swing state. Okay. They have successfully transformed that state into a totally blood red shithole. Okay. It is the sinkhole of the Eastern Seaboard. And you're going to have to use the same intestinal fortitude that they took to turn it into what it is now, to turn it back to what it was.
Right. The way I see it personally, this is my personal opinion based on what I have researched and what I have seen in terms of Charlie Crist and Nikki Fried. Charlie Crist is made for the governor position right this second because he has done the job before. He knows how to deal with the Republican majority, and he can do the job, and he can get into it, go on the ground running. Nikki Fried would not be able to do that. She is also considered far left. Nikki Fried, on the other hand, she can be used in the state assembly somehow, in the House or the Senate. She can be used in another position. So I'd much rather have two in than just nobody.
Again, it's the same thing with Biden after Trump. You needed a steady hand. I'm sorry, folks. That's the way. When you look at what Trump had done to this country, you needed somebody with experience and a steady hand that could try to get this country back on track. We had a near overturn of the fucking government. All right. Would I like to see someone like AOC president? I actually would someday.
Right.
But right now, I do not think that she would have been a very effective president, given what was left behind and given the composition of the GOP. All right. They're bad enough with Biden. They would have had a field day with her. So
right.
We need to think. You need to think outside the fucking, where you'd like to be versus where you are. Everybody would like all of this to change, but there are going to have to be steps to get you there because there were steps to get them where they are right now. All right.
I understand.
People looking.
Yeah, I understand that Charlie Crist is a little more moderate than people would like. I also understand that he used to be a Republican, but then that means he understands the Republicans. Also, he is not Manchin. He is not Sinema. He is also not looking to take the rights away from people. Right. He's on the right side of the Roe v. Wade issue. He's on the right side of the LGBT issue. I don't know about gun rights, but what I will say is
I think he's on the right side of gun rights as well.
Yeah. So forget about the letter by the name.
Something about the fact that Charlie Crist used to be a Republican. He didn't just switch from the Republican Party with Trump. He left the Republican. He ran as a Democrat in 2014. Okay. He left because of George W. Bush. He didn't leave because of Donald Trump. He's been a Democrat for a while now. All right. So if George W. Bush was too extreme for him, you know.
Right.
I mean, George W. Bush looks like fucking nothing compared to Donald Trump to me. And I hated George W. Bush.
Right. So here's a couple more things. This is, I believe, we'll get into this, actually, no, what that is. So, yeah, okay. DeSantis proposed license plate features warning to out-of-state cars. This is tourists that, are against some of the legislation. Don't tread on me and don't tread on Florida. This is our state. You know what? what you guys do in your state affects the rest of the country. Sorry. You are part of this union.
Here we go. Ready?
Yeah.
Charlie Crist on gun. I just want to, clarify this.
Yes, please.
Here's how we stop the epidemic of gun violence in our state. End the sale of assault weapons. Enforce gun laws. Support survivors and families. Strengthen community safety. Background checks. All that stuff. He's on board.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I wasn't sure.
Yep. And like I said, this out-of-state car shit, stop spending your money in fucking Florida. Okay? Stop it.
This is all the legislation that has been proposed. Some of it was vetoed. Most of it was signed. I'm sure most of it isn't good. We'll cover some of it next week.
I'm so sure that some of the stuff that was vetoed did not match his ideology.
Oh, absolutely. There's very few, but there were a couple in there, including, the Stop Woke Act, the Don't Say Gay bills. Well, we're only talking about kindergarten to third grade. Who's to say that that isn't going to be extended to fourth grade and fifth grade and sixth grade?
And first of all, let me just state this blatantly. No one teaches
They don't.
that. The issue is if a kid raises the issue that he saw two women together with a child, teachers can't address that issue any longer. Okay? By the way, if you look at the one that's vetoed right there on the right-hand side,
Yep.
establishing the congressional districts of the state,
Right.
because he's going to do that. And they caved to him, by the way.
Right. That was the redistricting bill.
Yep.
By the way, you have we've been through this. You have a book in kindergarten or whatever, a picture book with two women standing next to each other with a baby carriage. No, that's indoctrination. They could be sisters. It could be a mother and daughter. Give me a break. It's
It was a book about babies. It wasn't a book about gay parents. Okay.
right. You had two men, one dude with like a man pouch or whatever. Again, give me a break.
Give me a break, because right out in front of my fucking house, there are two guys who walk their kids together every day. They're not married. They have wives. I've seen them.
Right.
Get a clue, people. Get a fucking clue.
That's what I got.
All right, kids.
DeSantis is a clear and present danger. Whatever you can do. You want to donate. You want to phone bank, you can phone bank from other states, by the way. Deb showed her postcards for Maggie Hassan. You can volunteer for other people. You don't have to drive all the way to Florida to canvass.
It's all hands on deck, folks. This is go time here. All right.
DeSantis is the most dangerous, but there are Abbott ain't too far behind him. JD Vance ain't too far behind him. Carrie Lake, the other lunatic, what the hell's her name in Arizona?
Yeah.
Wendy Rogers.
Yeah, Wendy Rogers. I went off on her last night because she said that what they did to what's his name there, the shitbag.
Alex Jones.
Yeah, what they did to Alex Jones was wrong. You should be able to question the official story. 26 fucking people were killed. 20 of them were children. Okay, you can have an opinion. You can't have a second set of facts that says that fucking shooting was fake. I'm sorry, folks. That is not fucking okay. Those people were already in pain. Okay, enough is enough.
Right. And by the way, opinion is different than false facts.
Right.
By the way, that's libel. That's slander. That's libel or speech is slander. So it'd be slander against the school system and the school district that they're doing something wrong. Just like the what is it? The election of the ballot company. I can't
Oh,
remember
yeah,
the name of it.
yeah, the machines.
Dominion voting systems.
Yep,
They are hammering Fox News right now, as well they should.
They
It is
should.
not opinion. It is, it is a false fact. It is slander and libel when they put it on paper.
and by the way,
Dominion,
this is only one trial that Alex Jones will have to suffer through.
right,
But you know what? He was told to stop and he didn't,
right.
okay?
But
So-
Deb, he's going to lose his business. Deb.
Yeah, good. I hope he loses his ass. I hope he loses it so he just shuts the fuck up. Okay?
And not only that, when you hold one person accountable, maybe, just maybe, the freaking, the, what's his name?
Which
the horror show, the Gateway Pundit or
Oh.
whatever.
right.
James O'Keefe. Maybe James O'Keefe will back off a little bit.
Right.
Maybe some of these guys will back off a little bit and shut up and think twice before they say something that is blatantly false. Okay. Whitney Webb, has she come out with her book yet?
Yeah, it's out.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet because I haven't looked for it.
I ain't looking at it. I'm not buying it.
No.
I'm sorry, but you know what? To spend your time in the midst of all of this, writing a book about a guy who's dead and whether or not he was, a member of Mossad, I'm sorry, but you know what? We got other problems right now.
Right.
I'm going to tell you right now. Epstein's dead. He's gone. And that's where he belongs in my book. So,
And by the way, can I just say this? Candidates who are using BDS against certain more progressive Democratic candidates, look at their record against the Jewish community as well, especially the right wing. They're using it as a weapon. That little bit. BDS is not going to be applied, by the way. It's not going to be applied. So you could have an opinion on it. You can have an opinion that if someone, commits a crime, they should be held to a certain standard. Or is Israel going to be? No, they're not. To me, it's a non-issue. What's more of an issue is, are minorities' votes being suppressed? Are they being abused? Are gay and transgender kids being denied food at schools because they are gay and transgender?
remember when Jesus fed the people with 5 loaves and 2 fishes? He kicked out all the homosexual kids first, just so you know. By the way, one other comment. If you want to apply BDS to your personal life, go right ahead and do so.
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a problem with the way Israel treats Palestine? I do. Do I get on board with anti-Semitism? I absolutely do not.
No.
And the
There is a
GOP
difference.
is full of anti-Semites and Holocaust deniers. Okay, that's a lie too.
Yeah.
All right, I don't even want to fucking hear that. Okay.
Yep.
2 different animals, folks. I'm
Yep.
not becoming an anti-Semite for you folks. Not happening.
Right. You can have an opinion, but do not oppress people. And by the way, it includes everything. And sometimes it gets messy. Sometimes it does get messy.
There is nothing on the planet that is completely black and white. There is always the gray zone.
Right.
And you have to live with that.
Yep.
All right, gang, we're gonna end
But
it.
DeSantis is not part of that gray zone, by the way.
No.
He's pure black.
GOP is in the gray zone. They are all in the let's get them out of the fucking government zone. That's what they are. All right, kids.
President Greg Stilson.
Yeah.
That
Greg
is who-
Stilson. Anybody
Watch.
see Dead
Yeah.
Zone? If you haven't seen Stephen King's The Dead Zone, you should take a look at it and notice the candidate named Greg Stilson, who's an outsider who's running for public office.
Right.
Get a load of that asshole. And you've got Ron DeSantis.
Ron DeSantis. At first, I thought it was Palpatine, but it's not, because Palpatine kind of just eased himself in. Ron DeSantis has always basically said who he is.
Right,
and people just ignored it.
right. All right, kids. Later.